We begin at 11 with some breaking news on abortion legislation at the Rhode Island State House. I'm Shannon Hagee.
And I'm Mike Montecalvo. Tonight, the House of Representatives has passed a bill that would protect a woman's right to an abortion and clarifies when a so-called late-term abortion would be considered legal. This is a hot-button issue that brings out strong feelings from people for and against the legislation, and the vote follows hours of testimony this week. We have live team coverage tonight. Eyewitness News reporter Sheena Losciuto is standing by after hearing from people on both sides. But first, let's get to Steph Machado, who's live at the Rhode Island State House. Steph?
It was a split vote just after 9 o'clock following 4.5 hours of debate. Very personal views from representatives on both sides of this. In the end, a majority decided they wanted to preserve the right to an abortion in Rhode Island law.
This is a historic bill in the history of this chamber and Rhode Island.
The House of Representatives voting 44-30 in favor of abortion rights, eliciting cheers from the gallery. About a third of the chamber's Democrats joined 8 Republicans in voting against the bill. Some opposed the exception for late-term abortions when it comes to the life and health of the mother. Pro-life Democrat Arthur Corvese saying he doesn't buy the argument that this is necessary because Roe versus Wade could be overturned in the Supreme Court.
Even if we get 9 conservative Supreme Court justices, they will never overturn Roe versus Wade. As much as I personally would like to see it, that will never happen.
Some cited their Christian religious beliefs in their vote, while others say that has no place in making law.
We make decisions on who's going to live and who's going to die. That's crazy. God Almighty does. He says, "Thou shalt not kill."
Despite whatever personal or religious beliefs we may hold, despite whatever we may feel we would do personally if we were ever put in this situation, we have an obligation in this chamber to acknowledge that a woman's right to choose is a private one.
The lead sponsor, Anastasia Williams, celebrating the victory, wearing white in homage to women's suffrage.
I am so happy that my colleagues saw fit to protect the women and girls in the state of Rhode Island before Washington comes down and does something crazy.
And the House Speaker, Nick Mattiello, voted against the bill. He's pro-life, and it's certainly not common for him to allow a bill to come to the floor that he doesn't support. But he says he recognized that a majority of his colleagues did support the bill, so he let it come to the floor, and everyone voted their conscience, with Democrats voting on both sides of this. Mike and Shannon.
And Steph, just because the House voted to approve this legislation, it's not a done deal yet. So what is the next step in the process?
Well, the bill still needs to go through the Senate. There was a marathon hearing earlier this week in Senate Judiciary. It went until 6 o'clock in the morning. But I just spoke to the Senate spokesman who says there's no vote scheduled on this bill yet. The Senate President, Dominic Ruggiero, is pro-life. He told me earlier this week that he wouldn't stop the bill from going to the floor because of his personal views. It's unclear, though, if the Senate has the votes to pass this bill yet. Again, no vote is scheduled yet in the Senate. Mike and Shannon.
Steph, thank you. And our in-depth coverage of the vote continues now. Since this legislation was introduced, it's brought hundreds of supporters and opponents to the State House. And now we're hearing from people who showed up tonight to voice their opinions. Eyewitness News reporter Sheena Losciuto joins us now live in studio with more.
It's been very busy over at the State House. People on both sides of the debate have been watching this bill every step of the way. We've been seeing them testifying for hours and organizing several rallies, but they tell me tonight they're not going to stop.
Whenever the topic of abortion has been on the agenda at the State House, you'd find crowds like this one. As lawmakers continued debating on the House floor, advocates took their beliefs to the rotunda. Passions have been high on both sides.
We are trying so hard to save a life, and not just one, it's millions that we have lost so far, and now to bring it to this level is even more horrifying.
I really hope that Rhode Island takes this step to protect a woman's right to choose.
Harriet Troncoso is pro-life. She says her Catholic faith drives her fight against the bill.
I need someone to call out to those that cannot speak for themselves.
And for Jessie Klein Jasper, she says her Jewish faith guides her to support the bill. She's pro-choice.
If there is a danger to the mother, then the priority needs to be to protect the mother.
All week, people gathered with their signs, trying to show lawmakers where they stand. Both sides tell me they will continue showing up.
Not everyone's going to be on the same page, but if we just speak with each other and hear where we're coming from, there are reasons why people believe what they believe.
This will be a call, a wake-up call to everybody, to the entire Rhode Island.
And several people were also in the chambers watching the debate, but those seats filled up quick. Staff at the State House tell me it's not often they see crowds as big as these ones. I'm Sheena Lushudo, Eyewitness News.